When you're meditating alone or with your compatible group, and if you chant Om, usually in a repetitive manner, it can have a calming effect on your mind. But any kind of devotional chanting or singing will have a beneficial effect on your mind and brain. It has been noted in studies that chanting a simple melody and lyric contributes to coherence or harmonious interactions between the left and right hemispheres of the brain, also to reducing stress. And so you chant gently with intention if you want to. You chant Om or any other devotional chant that is meaningful to you. You can do that prior to meditation, or when you first begin to meditate. That can be helpful. The idea regarding meditation is, as I mentioned earlier, is to be alert and intent and to detach your attention from external conditions and from subconscious or subjective conditions. That is, you want to detach from the outside but also from the inside conditions. So if you have feelings that rise and fall, if you have memories that come and go, or thoughts that are persisting, you want to detach attention from them too. Don't sit there and explore your thoughts or examine your memories. When you're meditating, there are times when it may be useful to do those things. But when you're meditating, you want to detach your attention from all conditions, so that you can experience what the yogis call kaivalya, or isolation, or aloneness. That is self-aloneness, when only you are aware of only you exist, and without support of any object or feeling. There is just you, pure awareness, pure existence. And that is the superior stage of meditation practice. Many people, when they meditate, take their inclination to be stimulated and have their senses stimulated and their mind agitated. They take that inclination into meditation with them, and they want to have visions. They want to experience ecstasies. They want to have dramatic revelations, perhaps out-of-the-body experiences, or at least perceptions. In other words, they want to have fun in a variety of ways when they meditate. Meditation can be enjoyable, and along the way, until you get to the stage of transcendence, you may have some interesting episodes to observe and to watch, but you want to eventually go beyond them. Anything that you can perceive that is subject to change or to ending is not permanent. So there's no point in becoming unduly involved with it. So, but I mentioned along the way you may have various perceptions, and it's all right to be aware of them in passing, without becoming fixated on them. But when you meditate, you want to stay alert, and it can be helpful to keep your attention and awareness up here in the front and or higher region of the brain. And you don't have to forcibly roll your eyes up. Certainly don't want to tense the muscles in this here in your face or in your forehead to create a feeling of being uptight, or I know some people say when they do meditate they get a headache. That's because usually they're squinting or they're creating muscle tension, or they're trying too hard. Others say they feel dizzy. We shouldn't have any sensation of headache or dizziness when we meditate. We just sit there with the eyes closed for the most of the time and turn the attention within for the purpose of detaching attention from externals and from subjective conditions. And if when you are meditating, you become too involved with visual perceptions, which might you might have at times, or just you're hanging out with your thoughts and your memories, and you're not being as alert and focused as you want to be, and it's difficult to be focused, or you are inclined to go to sleep. For a while, you can just sit with your eyes open, staring straight ahead, without allowing your eyes to flicker, without looking at anything. And after a while, you'll be oblivious of what's out there. You won't be looking. It's just a vacant gaze, but your eyes are open, and that for a while. And that will enable you to bypass or avoid visual phenomena and being too caught up in your thoughts and your memories. And you'll discover that you can be super conscious and self-aware or self-knowing with your eyes open just as easily as with your eyes closed. You don't have to always have your eyes closed to be self-knowing. If you did, then you wouldn't be able to be self-knowing when you're after meditation, would you? You'd have to walk around with your eyes closed. And that's obviously not very useful to consider. So the only purpose of closing the eyes is to shut off external sources of stimuli, so you can become more internalized. But if by doing that you become caught up in visual phenomena or subjective phenomena for a while, then just look straight ahead without focusing until you're no longer even conscious of what's out there, and you're just there in the moment. Just be there in the moment. That's what you want to do when you meditate. Be aware in the moment. And I know when I was beginning to meditate, learning to meditate, 60-some years ago, shortly after I met Paramahansa Yogananda in Los Angeles, that I was aspiring to be self-realized quickly, and wanted to experience mystical states and samadhi states without really knowing what it was I wanted to experience. And so when I meditated, I was inclined to try too hard to not force the issue, but to really let God know I was on the way, and I was doing my best to be there. And later I found out that by relaxing and just being the observer with an attitude of waiting and watching and being receptive, that was more useful for me. But you have to learn to be focused and stay alert. That's the key, to stay alert. But there are a variety of meditation techniques and routines we can use to improve concentration and to quiet the mind and to reduce stress, but they're only tools. I heard Yogananda say so many times at public gatherings that meditation techniques are only tools to be used to accomplish your purpose, which is superconsciousness. And when you've accomplished that purpose, you can put your tools away. And I receive emails from people from different parts of the United States and South America and Europe, and wanting input or advice on their experiences. And some of them are very, and I understand this because I went through that phase many years ago. They're almost obsessed with practicing technique correctly. and making sure they've got it down right. And they spend so much time practicing the technique that they don't leave enough time at the end to experience the after effects results of effective practice. So you practice meditation technique, whether it's prayer or affirmation or using a mantra or pranayama practice or listening to subtle sound frequency or analytical contemplation or examination of some what you want to know about, imagination, to imagine yourself as being enlightened, whatever procedure you use, and then you put it, and then you go beyond it, and you just go beyond that stage, and abide for a while in the after effects, thought-free, hopefully, tranquility that can be the result, and there abide for as long as you can, or as long as possible during your meditation session. Those superconscious experiences are transformational. That's when the real beneficial inner work can take place. When you get to the stage of superconsciousness, transcendent consciousness, then that superconscious influence can pervade your mind and physiology and do good work. In fact, if you sit repeatedly in a superconscious state, in time, because it is superior to all other states of consciousness, it will purify your mind. And your troublesome subconscious inclinations and influences will in time be naturally resisted and weakened and neutralized. In effect, you are neutralizing your karma. You are getting rid of unwanted karma. That's what, in that way, karma is from the Sanskrit root or verbal root, which means to do, an action. It's the same verbal root that the word kriya is derived from. So your karma, part of your karma, is related to your conditioned subconscious inclinations and habits and influences that are troublesome. Well, you have what is called good karma or constructive karma too. You have subconscious conditionings which are constructive or beneficial. So you don't want to leave them alone. You want to know how to tie your shoes and shave if you're a fellow, and work in the kitchen and drive a car. That's all part of the conditioning of your subconscious. You don't want to wipe that out. But troublesome subconscious inclinations and influences, you want to get rid of them, and you can. But also some of your karma is your current mental attitude, your outlook on life, and how you think. You think and imagine, and the intentions you put forth, and how you behave, the things you do, which cause effects. This is all part of the karmic condition. So, back to meditation. So meditating to the stage of superconsciousness, and abiding there for as long as possible when you're meditating. That is most useful. And you may not see immediate improvements in your mental states and emotional states and your behaviors, and even your physical states. But in time, you will. Yeah, you will see overall improvement, better physical health, better psychological health, better sense of well-being. You are more insightful, improved powers of concentration, and so on. So, but it's important to meditate, to stay alert when you meditate. I know of people who have been meditating for years, been faithful to their daily practice, and they are not very alert yet, not very conscious, because they have gotten into the habit They got into the habit years ago and stayed there with it, of going into a pleasant meditative mood and hanging out there and just sort of being lulled by that pleasant feeling. Oh, this is so cozy in here. It's a withdrawal from the stress and turmoil outside. It's a place where to which I can withdraw and be peaceful. And so that they do that, and they just hang out in that very pleasant, comfortable, meditative state, but it is not transformative, or it doesn't illumine their mind or enlighten their consciousness. So, or sometimes they go beyond that stage of having a pleasant feeling or a pleasant sensation, and they have a sense of actually communing with a larger reality. And that's satisfying, somewhat soul-satisfying. But again, they stay at that level. They get to that, every time they meditate to that stage of having a sense of communion or a oneness experience with this larger presence that they say they feel, and they don't go beyond that. They don't inquire, what is that presence? What is that reality? And what is beyond this presence that I experience? What is beyond that? They don't inquire. That is why Paramahansa Yogananda once told me, he said, many saints are content to enjoy the bliss of God communion, and don't aspire to go beyond that stage. So he wasn't putting them down or finding fault. He was just pointing out that some people get to that stage and say, well, this is enough for me, or this is it, when it's not it. It's only a stage, and or maybe even a state that they produced in their own mind, and maybe they're self-deceived, self-deluded. So that's why it's important that we be intent on being completely awake and to know completely this ultimate reality commonly referred to as God. And this ultimate reality, this one reality, we call it ultimate because it is the furthest extent of reality. And its essence is pure. Its essence is pure, just as our essence is pure. And that means that it has no attributes or characteristics. And that's why it's referred to as undefinable and indescribable, or ineffable, unexplainable, even when experienced, or partially comprehended by the intellect or intuition. But you can't comprehend it completely with intellect or with intuition, because if you do, you're still looking at it. You can only know it by having realization or direct experience. By direct, means nothing in between you and it. Direct experience of it, then you can know it as it is, but it is pure. That essence of ultimate reality, which is the same as your essence. In fact, you are an individualized unit of that pure essence of ultimate reality. But also there is a nature of that reality with attributes or characteristics which make possible the production and maintenance of universes. It's all one thing. It is not two things. It's one thing. But there is a pure essence which never changes. It is always what it is. It did not begin, it will never end. And if you are sometimes at a loss regarding what to contemplate or examine or ponder when you're meditating, ponder that fact that essence of ultimate reality has no beginning and no end. It just is what it is and will always be what it is. How can something be like that? That should keep you busy. And no beginning, no end. And no characteristics, no attributes, just is. Pure existence. And that is why some of the sages in India centuries ago would tell their students, you are that, because that essence is your essence. And so that's something to contemplate when you're meditating. And to ponder, holding your consciousness when you're not meditating. My essence is pure. At the level of my essence, of being, I am pure, clear, serene, superconscious, knowledgeable. Everything is already complete at this level of my essence. That is why in many Enlightenment traditions, among yogis and Buddhist and Christian mystics, it is said that enlightenment is not a state to be attained or accomplished. It's not an accomplishment. It's not acquired. It is simply realized. Suddenly you wake up and you see it as it is. Oh, that's how it is. Wow, how did I miss it? But there, suddenly you see it, and when you see it, it's very familiar. No, why not? Because you've always known it. So it's we do endeavor to be awake. We do try to do all the right things to allow our mind to be calm and pure, and our emotions to be settled, and our awareness to be clarified. But we don't want to think in terms of that getting there is a matter of going down a long road or a long trail between here and there. It's a matter of arranging conditions so that we can be unencumbered and be awake. And when we are fully awake, then we know. Our innate knowledge blossoms, it emerges, it is just there, and we recognize it for what it is. And that is what we call spiritual illumination, spiritual enlightenment.